Once we get within 12 weeks of her due date, we ship a kit to her home.
What does a kit look like? Is it very
comes
big?
in a box. They call them literature mailers, like maybe you'd get an encyclopedia-sized book in. So it's about a little bit bigger than a sheet of paper, a couple inches thick. And it contains all the paperwork she needs to fill out and return to us, and the collection kit itself, which is basically a blood bag, very similar to the type of bag we collect a whole blood donation in.
And that's what the doctor will put the cord in?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Also has some tubes that go in there because we need some of mom's blood at the time of delivery that we screen for infectious diseases for, just like we do the whole blood donations.
Okay. Who sends the item to you? Is it the doctor or the actual patient?
Once the patient hits the hospital with her kit and hands it off to the nurses, she's pretty much done. She's got other things to concern herself with at that point, like delivering that baby.
Sure.
So she hands that off to hospital personnel. The delivering clinician will actually collect the cord blood for us, and then the nurses, who we value the time they put into this program for us, they fill out the paperwork, usually bring it to the blood bank. There are a couple hospitals where that's not the case, but bring it to the blood bank. The blood bank notifies us that they have it, and we get it couriered back to our center one way or another, depends on what hospital it is.
This is probably a sensitive question, but why wouldn't all hospitals just have those kits in their facility?
The kits do expire in 14 weeks, which is why we need to wait until mom's within 12 weeks.
Okay.
They all go out personalized and pre-labeled with a unique identifier. So we do that when we mail the kit out. We're trying to make it as easy as it possibly can for the hospital personnel, so we take care of identifying everything for them. And then it's mom's responsibility to bring that kit with her.
And are you regulated then by the FDA?
Yes, we are.
Okay,
yes,
and they're the ones that come in and inspect and make sure that everything's being done correctly then.
That is correct.
Okay, so we get to the point where the donation is sent to you. Then what happens once it's sent to you?
We process it in our laboratory, which is about a 5-hour process per cord blood. It'll come with about 100 mLs of blood in it, so half a cup of blood or so. Very few cells in that are actually the stem cells. So we do an isolation procedure that'll take that 100 mLs of donation and get it down to about 20 mLs. That way we can store more in the liquid nitrogen freezers.
Can I back you up and ask, you said process. What do you mean by process?
We're going to take the red cells out of it, take most of the plasma out of it, do some testing on it. We actually count those stem cells in there. That's how they decide how large of a graft they need for the patient. You need a certain number of cells per kilogram of patient weight. So the larger the patient, the bigger the cord blood unit has to be to support a transplant.
Can you use 2 cords for one person?
Excellent question.
Okay.
And yes, that is just recently become standard of care. So we are now transplanting adults with cord blood. When we first started out 10 years ago, it was primarily children. But University of Minnesota pioneered an effort where they were giving 2 cord bloods from 2 totally different people, and are seeing success with that even in adults.
How many stem cells in a cord?
About 6 million, which sounds like a lot. But you need about 3 million per kilogram of patient weight to have a successful transplant.
So a person my size, you don't know my weight, but take it, you can do a guesstimate, or maybe just do you. A person your size, how many stem cells would you need out of a cord?
About 18 million.
18 million. So that actually would be maybe what, 2 cords or almost 2.5 cords?
They would probably do 2 cord bloods for me.
Okay.
And not all cords are created equal. It's really interesting to see. You can get 2 that are the exact same volume. Moms can be the same age, have the same sex and weight of baby, and one will have way more stem cells in it than the other one.
So they're all different?
They're all different.
But they can all do the same thing?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Okay, so we got to the process, what you do. Now, what do you do with all those items, the plasma and then the...
They're just discarded as medical waste. We use as much as we can for testing, because even the red cells that we're discarding will have a few white cells in there. So we can use those for further testing. so that we're not sacrificing important ones that are actually in the graft.
Okay.
One of the most important tests we do is the tissue typing, the HLA, human leukocyte antigen typing. Once we get that answer back, and that can take a month to get that answer back, that's the way we tell if we are going to match someone or not. Once we get that typing back, we list them on international registries. And the patients that are in need of transplant, their doctors search those registries.
Okay.
So they put the patient's typing in, and the computer matches it against what we have in our freezers that we have frozen.
And this is a national database.
International
database. And once you've done all the testing on that cord, that info then just goes right into that database, and the doctor could find that, pretty readily, pretty quick.
Correct.
And do you have had cases where you get this cord and you've done all the testing and then it's got to that point and you put it on the registry and then boom, somebody wants it right away?
We actually have interest in one right now that's only been in our freezer for about 4 months. That's a pretty quick turnaround.
Now, when you say interest, do they think about it for a while, or
they will do a search and then they will do confirmatory testing to make sure that we tissue typed it correctly the first time, because that is the most important aspect of the transplant, is to make sure those tissue types match. So we will actually send a sample out to a different laboratory than did it the first time to make sure we get that same answer back for the tissue type. And they are often looking at more than one cords if they have that luxury that they have more than one that match. They will look at more than one cord from more than one bank at that point and decide which one's best for their patient.
Okay, so sometimes it can be a pretty long and drawn-out process.
And one of the beauties of cord blood is it's often quicker than what the adult bone marrow donors, because they're sitting frozen in our freezer. We have turned one of these around in as quick as 1 week. From the time they called and saw the match out on the registry, and we got the confirmatory testing done and then shipped it for transplant.
Are there any in your, do you call them freezers or laboratory?
Freezers.
Your freezer that is older than 10 or 15 years?
We started in 1999, so our
okay.
oldest is coming up this summer, will be 8 years old.
Oh, and so you keep that one?
Yes,
you definitely
we keep them all. Yes.
And you said in the beginning of the program you may be able to keep them for an eternity.
Correct.
So ultimately you may have more freezers.
Correct.
Per se.
Yes.
Okay. Well, this has been very interesting. Did we get to the final point? The doctor uses the cord.
We ship it out, and we ship them in shippers that will stay at that minus 190 degrees centigrade for up to a week. So we can ship them all over the world in the frozen state. Okay.
Well, that's very interesting. I'm sure the viewers really were unaware of what can be done with cords from a baby, right?
Correct. That would be discarded as medical waste, and we can save lives with it.
Is there anything else that you want to add that maybe we missed?
The tissue typings that we talked about run along ethnic lines. So African American donors have very different tissue types than what Caucasian donors do. And those patients have the hardest time finding matching grafts.
Okay.
So we want to encourage minority donations because they are underrepresented in the banks.
Okay, well that's a very good point. Well, I want to thank you for your time today, and I hope that the program was useful to the viewers in Northern Michigan. And I'm sure that the Michigan Community Blood Centers will continue to get this message out and make young moms aware of the possibilities of donating something that can save a life. Probably the most important thing, though, is to get registered, to
give us a call.
Yes.
866-MI-BLOOD. We also have miblood.org for a website.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mary, and thank you for tuning in this month. I hope you enjoyed this program.